All right, so it's officially training camp season, which means that's truth season here on the Era. And the truth is that this season is an inflection point for the Philadelphia Eagles. The outcome of this season will have a drastic impact on the trajectory of the Philadelphia Eagles for years to come. It's been an interesting past 3 years for Nick Sirianni's Eagles. In 2021, the Eagles went 9-8 and they clinched a playoff spot, but they looked sloppy, they looked clunky for a lot of the years, and they struggled with elite competition in 2021. In 2022, the Eagles were an absolute juggernaut and cruised to the Super Bowl and almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs in one of the best Super Bowls that I've ever watched, but they fell short. And 2023 was like a tale of two seasons, kind of like the Packers had last year, but just in reverse. In late November, after defeating the Bills, the Eagles were 10-1, and they looked like by far the best team in the NFL. That was the common opinion amongst all of us NFL consumers. But then they concluded the year at 1-5, which was an insane collapse, something that I've never seen before, and nobody's really seen before. 1-5 to finish the year is like that's deplorable. That just can't happen. And question marks started to surround this Eagles team in many forms. Many people started to question Jalen Hurts and his leadership abilities and his approach to the quarterback position. He has a very stoic style, and he's a very quiet quarterback, and even his own teammates were calling on him to step up and be more of a vocal leader on the sidelines. And from an external standpoint, that can look very concerning because usually quarterbacks don't get called out in the media like that. But Jalen Hurts was. And guys on that team just wanted to see him step up and talk more and be more assertive and have more control over his offensive unit. And question marks started to surround Nick Sirianni as a head coach, which is insane to me as he just led the Eagles to a Super Bowl the previous season. But life comes at you fast in Philadelphia and in New York and in Chicago. And if you have a collapse like the Eagles had at the end of the 2023 season, the pressure is going to start to mount. And regardless of what you did the previous season, you're going to catch a lot of scrutiny. And if the Eagles have another season this year that falls below expectations, it is a realistic possibility that Nick Sirianni gets fired from the head coaching position. And it sounds insane, but we all know how Philly works. When you're performing, they love you. They'll embrace you, and they'll support you wholeheartedly and unconditionally. But when you start to underperform and fall below expectations and disappoint consistently, you start to lose them more and more and more. And when Philly decides that your time is up, that they're over you, that they're done with you, that's it. There's no turning back. When they want to run you out of town, they're going to run you out of town. That's how Philly operates. Go ask Carson Wentz. Go ask Ben Simmons, because they did it to both of those guys, and they'll have no hesitation in doing it to Nick Sirianni either. So if the Eagles don't perform to their level of expectation this year, it's a realistic possibility that, given that environment and those circumstances, he could be fired. And I don't wish that upon anybody. I hope he has a successful year this year. I hope he has many successful years as the Eagles head coach. But that is just the reality of this situation. The good news is that this Eagles team is absolutely stacked. They have one of the best wide receiving cores in the NFL. You've got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith paired with each other. I mean, that is insane. Now they have Saquon Barkley in the backfield. You still have Jalen Hurts, and I know that he caught a lot of flack at the end of last season for how he handled adversity and for not being assertive and vocal and as outgoing of a leader as he possibly could be. But he's still a great dual-threat quarterback. Love his deep ball. Love his accuracy. He's great on his legs. We have to take into account that for most of the 2023 season, Jalen Hurts was battling a bone bruise in his knee. And that hurts like hell. And I hope that's nothing that I ever experienced. But he did. And it took a whole element of his game out of play. He could not use his legs as much as he could. He did not have the same burst, and so he just wasn't the same guy. But he has time for that bone bruise to recover, and you could see him return to 2022 form. That O-line is still very much intact. The Eagles still have Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata. It's stacked. And then you look at this Eagles defense. This may be the best secondary in football. You're talking Darius Slay. You're talking C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You're talking Avonte Maddox and Jalen Carter, Reed Blankenship. This team is absolutely stacked. This defense is insane. So, on paper, this Eagles team is engineered to be a Super Bowl contender. Absolutely not a question in my mind. But where the question marks come in for me is this Eagles team lost both of their vocal leaders in this offseason. Jason Kelce, their center who was revered by his team for many years, retired, and so did Fletcher Cox. And those guys were the vocal and emotional leaders of both their respective units. Jason Kelce on offense, of course, and Fletcher Cox on defense. So the question to me is, who's going to step up? Who on these offensive and defensive units are going to step up and be the vocal leader of their respective units? Because every great team has one guy on each side of the ball. Who's that leader? Who's that alpha personality? Who's outspoken and is the spark plug of the unit? It was Jason Kelce and it was Fletcher Cox for years. And now both of those guys are gone. But I have no doubt that there are guys on both sides of the ball that can step up, that can elevate and be those guys. It'll just be interesting to me to see who they are. So the Eagles are going to have to forge a new identity for themselves from a leadership standpoint. But I have no doubt that they'll be able to. And yes, this year, Nick Sirianni, when it comes to how Philly's evaluating him, will have to reaffirm himself as a trustworthy head coach for the Eagles. Yes, 3 winning seasons, but the collapse last year is something that the Philly faithful will not forget. So this season is either going to validate what the Eagles have been doing from a head coach and quarterback duo standpoint and from a philosophical standpoint, or it's going to result in the Eagles having to pivot, whatever that may look like. But regardless of what happens, it's going to be a fascinating season for the Eagles, and I can't wait to watch it unfold. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you and the time that you took out of your day to watch the video. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video and share it, as well as subscribe to The Era. The more likes and subscribers I get on this channel, the more resources I can attain, and the more resources I can attain, the more value I can provide to you, the viewer. And that is how I show my appreciation for you for the time that you devote to watching my videos. So thank you so much, and have a great day.